Hello, Ramley and other NFL family, especially Titans family today. Today we are talking about the Tennessee Titans on this episode of MOOF, where we are looking for the most overly optimistic fan base in the NFL. We're checking in with one fan, or in today's case, three fans, from every NFL franchise to kind of gauge where their optimism level is heading into the 2022 season. Because if you can't be optimistic about your team this time of year, when can you be optimistic about your team? The Tennessee Titans are definitely an interesting team. They've got a steal of a trade in Robert Woods, which we'll talk about later on. There's questions around Ryan Tannehill as quarterback. Mike Vrabel as coach is getting some criticisms after being the number one seed and a lackluster performance in the playoffs. We'll talk about all this and more on this episode of Move. And joining me in this amazing stream, which I'm excited, again, their channel is amazing. It is link in the description below, but I welcome in the three representative from the Sports Star. How are you today?
Thrilled to be here. Glad to be back.
Doing good.
Yeah, no, it's exciting to have you guys here. We're going to break down this game by game, and really thrilled about this. But let's start off. Guys, I know it can be tough. Bit of a heartbreaking loss to the Bengals in the playoffs. But what are Titans fans optimistic about heading into this season?
I don't know if I speak for... Oh, you can go first.
Two short words, Malik Willis, to be honest.
Yep.
I'm optimistic about Treylon Burks. Not hearing a lot of hype about him because how we got him trading AJ, which I don't think anybody on here, any Titans fan particularly loved. But if there's any receiver in this draft that I'd have to replace AJ, I'm glad it's Treylon. Built more or less, I think they can take the same role.
I think I'm gonna stick with my gut. I'm still excited about Derrick Henry. I mean, the best running back in the league, in my opinion, still. Despite injury, that's going to be the main concern going into this year. Can he bounce back from that injury that caused him to be out pretty much the rest of the season? And if he can bounce back, I think we have to extend him. And I think that's going to determine our future of this team. So I'm excited about Derrick Henry.
Okay. And I do see some awesome people in the chat here. Hello, Ben and Grandizer, and also Ram's House. And he mentions Woody, Bobby Trees, Robert Woods, a beloved LA Ram, which, many of my subscribers still are feeling the sting of that trade, but I know that you guys are excited about him. Could you maybe offer my subscribers some of your opinions as a Titans fan about the Robert Woods trade?
I think he's going to be a great slot receiver. I think he's either going to be our number one on the outside, or if Treylon fills that role for us, I think he'll be a great number two. I think the two of them could go great together. I think this might turn into. I think this is probably the sleeper for the best 1-2 punch in the NFL this year.
Okay, all right. Well, I'm looking forward to him. I wish Robert Woods nothing but the best. So let's start breaking down this schedule here. And if you're watching with us live, thanks for tuning in on this lunchtime episode of Move. Or if you're watching on the replay, thanks for tuning in as well. I'd love it if you guys hit that like button and subscribe. But feel free to predict as we go game by game. A W in the chat if you think the Titans are going to win. An L in the chat if you think the Titans are going to lose. And if you feel the need to predict a tie, you can do that as well. We are talking through the Tennessee Titans here. So let's start off here. And we're going to have our panels kind of go one at a time here. So we'll start off with the Sports Star 1 here. First game of the year. It's a home game for the Titans, and you're taking on the New York Football Giants. Win or lose?
You can't lose this, right? I think this is going to be what sets the tone of the season. It's going to be a win, in my opinion, and probably all of us would agree it's going to be a win. It shouldn't be too hard of a – I think it's just going to wake us up, like get us ready but you can't really sleep on any team in the NFL these days. But I think we win this game. Not much I really need to go into detail, but I think we beat the Giants.
Okay. Yeah.
Yeah, I think that makes it. And they're definitely one of the easier teams on our schedule this year.
For sure. Yeah.
Yeah, they
Okay.
seem like an easily beatable team. Like, if out of our like schedule, I would assume that the Titans at full strength anyway, they would be probably the Giants would be the easiest team we have this year potentially.
Okay, so that's a good first game of the year. Get that win under your belt. That's cool. I see Grandize is agreeing with you guys. And before we continue, I forgot to ask, and Grandize is doing a great job reminding us. How did the three of you become Titans fans?
I'm born into it. Basically, we all live down here in Tennessee, so not much of a choice. Despite what my little brother thinks.
Yeah, grew up a Titans fan, became a Titans fan at the age of probably 6. I mean, I watched the Titans back when Chris Johnson was our number one running back. But yeah, I've always loved the Titans. Just grew up a Titans fan.
Very cool. Yeah. We love hearing that backstory about our guests here. Okay, you're off to a great start, 1-0, but then you got a doozy of a game here, Monday Night Football game against the Buffalo Bills. Sports Star 2, maybe if you could start us off on your thoughts and prediction for this game. Can the Titans beat the Bills?
I don't think so. I don't think that the Titans. I feel like the Bills are one of the few truly elite teams in the NFL. I don't think the Titans are at that level at all. I feel like Stephon Diggs and Josh Allen are just too dangerous of a pair for our secondary. So I think this is our first loss of the season.
Okay. Yeah. Any disagreements from our other two?
No, I'd probably agree with that. I mean, the Bills are probably one of the top teams in the NFL. They're probably contending for the Lombardi Trophy this year. So, as much as I want the Titans to do that as well, the Bills are just a level above us, I think.
I think it's going to be a closer game than we all think, just because of the mentality that we have against the Bills. Past 2 years, we've beaten them despite the critics saying we'd lose. But I think the Bills come into this year saying we want to stop that trend, and I think they want to have the winning mentality against the Titans again. So I think they take the dub.
Okay, absolutely. Okay, so you're 1-1 after 2 weeks. Brett, I do see you. Good to see you as always. He's a Rams fan, remembering that the Rams-Titans Super Bowl is one of the best games in Super Bowl history. I know that's a little before your guys' time, but as someone who became a fan that year, I love that game. Oh, that's funny. Week 3, you are at home, and the Titans welcome in the Las Vegas Raiders to town. Can you get a dub versus the Raiders?
Well, the Raiders obviously just got Devontae Adams, big signing, big trade. So it's going to be a really tough game. But I think the Titans can pull it off, actually. I think the Titans, if we get an early lead and we just run the clock down, like we've done so many times with Derrick Henry, I feel like we can win this game. I'm not sure about my colleagues here, but I predict a win here.
Okay. Predicting a win. Any disagreements with that?
No, I think that we definitely have a shot against them, and their defense is not. I don't think their defense is A tier yet, and I feel like Derrick Henry has a very real chance to run over them.
Okay, fair enough.
Yeah, I agree with Reporter 3. I think that this game should be another close game, but I still think Derrick Henry and Robert Woods and the whole crew should get the dub here.
All right. Okay. Well, that's a 2-1 after 3 weeks. And then you go on for your first divisional game of the year. You're traveling to Indianapolis to take on the Colts. Colts they're making some moves this offseason. They're bringing in Matt Ryan. But R1, back to you. Do you think that the Titans handle their business versus the Colts in Indy?
Yeah, I think that this early on, I think that Matt Ryan needs to find his identity in Indianapolis early on just to win these important divisional games against the Titans. But I'm not a huge fan of Matt Ryan right now in his career. I wasn't really disappointed when the Colts signed him or traded for him. I don't remember. I think they traded for him, but I'm giving this to the Titans. I think that Jonathan Taylor is going to have a good game, but I think something that no one in the league is talking about is our defense. And our run defense came in second in the league, I think, last year, and in run defense at least. And I think we get the dub in Indy.
Okay. All right. And again, I think you did a great job summing that up here. R2 or R3, any disagreements or caveats to that?
No, I definitely think this is going to be a nail biter.
Yep.
Yeah, and I think we're going to probably split with Indy this year, 1-1. I'm not sure who's going to win at home away, but I would assume that now that we won this game, probably the other game at Tennessee, Indy would win.
Okay. So you're predicting a win there. So you're off to a 3-1 start. And I don't think Titans fans would be disappointed in that. And then you're on the road again to take on the Washington Commanders in Washington. R2, are you gonna get the dub here?
I think so, but this is one of those games where we should win, but definitely more hesitant because of how. I mean, their defense is going to be good no matter what. It's just how good their offense is. But I think that our defense should be enough because I don't trust any of the quarterbacks on their roster, especially not Carson Wentz. And I think our defense is good enough to shut them down better than their defense could shut us down. So I think we come out with a win here.
Okay. And I do see Grandizer 12 in the chat is agreeing with you with that W there. But R1 and R3, do you guys – is there a consensus to this win here?
Yeah, this should be. I think this might be a closer game than we're expecting because I think Terry McLaurin, if Carson Wentz can connect to him a couple times in the game, that could be very detrimental to the Titans. But overall, I think the Titans are a better team on paper, so they should win this game.
Okay. Well, that takes you to 4 wins and 1 loss on the year. And that does bring us to your bye week, which means it's time for
Bye Week Hot Takes. The hottest takes on the bye week.
Yes, it is time for Bye Week Hot Takes, the part of the show where we take a little break from the schedule prediction, and we have 3 hot takes that are taken from all corners of the internet, Twitter, Reddit, random Facebook and comment sections from all across the internet. And we find hot takes with a little bit of weight to them. And our guests have not seen these hot takes. They're going to be reacting raw. Maybe they've heard some of these hot takes before, but they're going to give us a little bit of insight. Is there some weight to this hot takes? Do they buy it? Do they sell it? Let us know from a Titans fan perspective. So hot take number 1. King Henry is not the best running back in football anymore. And this was largely because of the injury concerns and just he is getting older. And a lot of people saying, Jonathan Taylor is kind of, now in that role. But what would you guys say to this hot take here?
I've just got one thing to say to this. Derrick Henry played 9 games last season and was still in the top 10 of rushing yards. And he was on pace to be the first running back in NFL history to break 2,000 yards, not only twice, but in back-to-back seasons. I think, unless shown otherwise, he is still the best running back in football, plain and simple.
Yeah, and I'd have to agree because the injury is going to be what determines how he plays, obviously, this year. But training camp, I've seen reports of him being just better than ever, healthy, whatever. You can't always believe those speculations, but you just have to wait until the season rolls around just to see how that goes. But I think he's still the number 1 running back in football, in my opinion, at least.
Yeah, so I think with this take, you're probably assuming that Jonathan Taylor is the best running back then in the NFL, which I would say too that in like their head-to-head matchups, whenever they both have been on the field and fully healthy, I think Derrick Henry has outclassed Jonathan Taylor. Um, and in a pure production standpoint and what it sets up for the offense standpoint, with the play action game for Henry and the Titans offense. And I obviously want to see them incorporate more of a different kind of game plan instead of just relying on Henry. But right now, I think Derrick Henry is still better than Jonathan Taylor.
Okay, that's fair. That's fair. The second hot take: Julio Jones is the worst trade in Titans history. And correct me if I'm wrong, but I believe the Titans traded just a second round pick to get Julio, which wouldn't necessarily make you think, oh, they gave up a ton for him, but it's still a high draft pick. But he didn't really produce that much for you guys on the field last year. I remember you guys being really excited when that trade went down. Can you maybe expand a little bit on, the result of the trade, and are there any trades in Titans history that come close?
Yeah, so I think in hindsight, this trade goes down pretty bad, but overall, I don't really regret doing this trade very much because of the potential that Julio Jones brought to the offense. Obviously, that didn't really pan out very well, but he did set up a lot of things, and he was always a threat on the field. And I think that was something valuable that he brought, even though he didn't exactly put up a bunch of production numbers.
Yeah, I kind of agree with that. I feel like if you look at it from what he produces, it is one at least down there. But again, it's not to any fault of his. He played good when he was on the field. But yeah, I think this is down there.
Okay. Yeah. And
for me, I think he was still a threat. I think he gave AJ more opportunities to be open, gave that other threat other than AJ Brown, and gave him more opportunities to, I guess, just be open. And I think that helped him. It helped AJ ultimately develop as a player. And I know AJ Brown wanted this trade to happen, and I think he did mentor AJ, which doesn't mean anything to us anymore since he's not on our team. But I think that in the long run, it was, the production wasn't that high, but in the long run, I think it was not the worst trade in Titans history, in my opinion.
Okay. Appreciate your insights into that. And then the final hot take here: Ryan Tannehill will be benched by week 6 this year. I know they drafted Malik Willis. There's a little bit of hype around him. Do you guys agree with this hot take?
So with this, I feel like it's just going to depend on. I think it's going to depend on week 5 because that's probably the best defense we face. The Commanders. They've got. So if he depends on how he plays against them, I think it is. But unless he does what Mariota had to do to get into the game, basically I think unless he does what Mariota did a couple years ago, where he played terribly in the first 6 games, I think that's what it would have to take. I don't think Vrabel is too keen on putting Malik Willis in early because he made it pretty clear that there's no competition for the starting role. So I don't think unless something goes disastrously wrong with Tannehill, I don't think Malik Willis is seeing the field, at least not that early.
Yeah, I feel like the Titans could maybe bench Ryan Tannehill maybe later in the year, maybe week 15, 16, if the Titans are out of the playoff hunt, which I don't think they will be. But if they are, then I feel like they could definitely bench him and just get Malik Willis some reps in before the end of the year. But that's really the only scenario where I see him playing this year because again, Mike Vrabel has made it clear that there's no competition for the number 1 QB job. And yeah, I think Ryan Tannehill is firmly in place for this year.
Okay, I do see SM in the chat. Thank you for tuning in. And in regards to hot take, he agrees that Derrick Henry is RB1. He buys the second hot take just because you can't think of any other Titans trades that are worse. And then he just thinks Willis is not ready. Okay. Well, this has been
Bye-week hot takes. The hottest takes on the bye week.
Yes, that was bye week hot takes. So then, right before the bye week, the Sports Star reporter crew, you do have a 4-1 prediction for the Titans with the early bye in week 6, and then week 7 for this is crazy that the Colts both matchups with the Colts are this close together. That is just bizarre to me. But your second matchup with the Colts, mentioned earlier, you said you think they might split. But I forgot where I think we're at R2 here. If you can maybe lead us off with this, do you think the Titans go or they welcome Indy to their own home? Are you going to beat them this time?
I don't know because I know Titans struggle with consistency in general, but I do think that we're going to split, and we predicted the win earlier, so I do think this is going to be a loss. But yeah, I think this one's enough. I think both games against the Colts are going to be close games that should be fun to watch.
Okay. R3 or R1?
Yeah, like I said before, I think we're gonna split our series with them. So I feel like whether it's at home or away, we're gonna lose at least one game against them.
Yeah.
I mean, either way, I think the Titans, these games are going to be very important to the Titans season. If we want to win the division, we have to beat the Colts. It's as simple as that. I mean, Texans, the Jaguars, don't think they're going to be any good this year. So the Colts games are going to be very crucial to our season.
Okay, fair enough. Well, just for the sake of prediction, I am going to say that you guys are predicting this as an L, even though there obviously is a conversation around this game. So you're at 4-2, and then R3. Give us your thoughts on you travel to Houston to take on the Texans for the first time this year.
Yeah, the Texans obviously just traded away Deshaun Watson for a ton of draft picks.
Mm-hmm.
But right now they haven't used any of those draft picks, so I would say that we easily win this game at Houston.
Okay. All right. So as R1, R2, is there much to talk about with this here?
Not much.
Nope.
You're going to be bottom of the league.
Fair enough. And I see SM is agreeing with you guys here. And then I got to give a shout out to Finesse Foreign. He did, predict the Robert Woods getting traded. And everyone was like, no way the Rams would trade Robert Woods. And here we are. And I'm sure Titans fans are going to love Bobby Trees. Keep his nickname alive. That's all I ask. So then you travel on the road to a prime time Sunday night football game against the Kansas City Chiefs. And R1, I think we're back to you. Win or lose in Arrowhead?
Oh boy. Home field advantage is going to be very key to this game. Man, this is going to be a tough game, and I still think I'm going to say the Titans pull off the upset. I think they can, but I know, yeah, as Grandizer just said, KC coming off the bye, it's going to be tough, but I don't think they have the offensive weapons. I don't think they have the offensive players. Like, I'm sure Kelsey's going to go off the season, but I don't think they have any wide receivers that I'm too scared of. Hardman, he's a very fast, talented receiver, but now that Hill's gone and your defense, not to mention that your defense has to stop Derrick Henry, your offense has to stop Bobby Trees, you have to stop Treylon Burks. Like, if he plays well enough, it's going to be tough. So I think we end up getting the win.
Okay. I really appreciate those thoughts. And R3, R2, do you guys affirm what your colleague is saying?
Yeah, I mean, this is definitely the year that the Chiefs are looking the weakest, and at least since 2018, probably, and I think even before that, they don't strike me as the team that they were, with a lot of offensive talent. Like, they got rid of Hill, and that wide receiver core that was so legendary not even 2 years ago is almost completely gone now.
Yeah, I think the Chiefs seem pretty weak this year with no Tyreek Hill and stuff. That opens a lot up for like defensive game planning, and my career was obviously very good at that. So yeah, I think the Titans could get the win here. Yeah.
Okay. All right. We like seeing that. So you're 6-2 on the year, and then headed week 10. You are home and you welcome in the Russell Wilson led Denver Broncos. I was talking with a friend. I almost made this a bi-week hot take, but I didn't. Is that there's actually a lot of similarities between the Broncos and the Titans, even though the Broncos have a new coaching staff, just in terms of personnel. They play good defense, and then they have a capable backfield that can keep them in games, and they can sneak out games at the end that they maybe weren't supposed to win. But I would love to know your thoughts on this Broncos team, and can the Titans get the win? R2, let's hear your thoughts first.
So last year against the Seahawks, it took us a long time to get into shape. Ended up with a comeback win doing it against the Russell Wilson-led Seahawks. And I feel like while the Broncos aren't probably a step up from the Seahawks last year, they're definitely at least on level with them. So I think this is going to be a game that we struggle in just because our pass rush is notoriously bad at getting Russell Wilson on the ground. I mean, he was running around as much as he wanted last year. So I feel like this is a game that's going to be a close one. I do think the Broncos come out with a win in this.
Okay. R1 or R3, any thoughts on that?
No, I think he's pretty much nailed it pretty much.
Yeah, I would agree with that as well.
Okay, all right. So you're 6-3 still above 500. But then this is a tough part of your schedule here. Wow. You have a short week and you're playing on Thursday night primetime football in Green Bay, Wisconsin, taking on Aaron Rodgers and the Packers. Can you get a dub here, R3?
So obviously Aaron Rodgers and the Packers are great in the regular season. Not so much in the playoffs, but in the regular season for sure they're great. And with that offense, especially, I just don't think the Titans have enough firepower to beat that, and I think the Packers got the dub here.
Okay, so predicting a loss there. R1 or R2?
I agree.
A loss. Yeah.
That's fair. It looks like SM here in the chat is agreeing with that. It's tough to win in Green Bay with Aaron Rodgers there. Yeah. But you're still, you're at 6-4, and then you travel. Nope, you are back home, and you welcome in, and this is a revenge game opportunity, taking on the AFC defending champions from last year, Cincinnati Bengals. I believe I'm at R2 here. Win or lose?
I think that we end up losing here. I think the Bengals are just as dangerous as they were last year with that Jamar Chase, Joe Burrow core, and T. Higgins is one of the most underrated wide receivers in the game. So I feel like this is a loss for us.
Okay, R3, R1, anything to expand on?
That doesn't sound like it.
Okay.
Oh no, sorry, I forgot I was on mute. Sorry, no, I pretty much agree.
Okay. Do you think it'll be a tight game at least?
Oh yeah, there'll be another tight game just because these kind of games usually are, but it's gonna probably end up going the Bengals' way.
Yeah. R3, did I see you have something to say there?
Yeah, I think it's going to be somewhat of a tight game, but I just don't. Yeah, I would agree with both.
Okay. Well, the Titans are on a bit of a losing streak here. You're at 6-5. A couple of shout outs from the chat here. I do see that Grandizer is predicting a tie versus Cincinnati. And then SM is predicting a W versus the Bengals. So let's see. So 6-5, and then you travel to Philadelphia to take on the Eagles. Win or lose, R3. Kick us off.
So I think this is going to be a tough game, but overall, the Titans, they just need to they just need to figure out a game plan, because a lot of the times the Titans go into games like this fully expecting a win, and then they end up without, obviously, just losing. Like, look at the Jets game last year. But I think if the Titans can fully game plan correctly, they can win this game.
Okay. So you're predicting a win, you'd say?
Yes, even though obviously they just got AJ Brown and stuff, but and that's going to be a revenge game against him. But or rather, it's going to be his revenge game against us. But yeah, it should be a good game. Hopefully, a lot closer than it should probably be a close game, and hopefully we.
Okay. R1 or R2, anything to add to that?
It's going to be fun guarding AJ Brown. It's going to be a sad game though.
Yeah.
Facing AJ Brown, the player that we developed and so we liked so much, but you got to move on. You got to I think we need to get this dub just for our sake, honestly.
Yeah, I mean, we do need to win this game because especially coming off a couple week slide here, I think we definitely need to come out with a win just for our own sake because once you start getting on that downwards trend, you need a game. You need to get off of it as soon as possible, especially this close to the end.
Okay, for sure. And, again, I hope this is one of those games that Robert Woods is just, the best player on the field. And he's like, we don't miss A.J. Brown. We got Robert Woods. I see Corey Davis welcome in. He's predicting a win in this game here. But, yeah, so you guys break that losing streak. You're at 7-5. And then you take on, for the first time, which is really late in the year, again, Titans are kind of a weird schedule here with their division rivals.
Really, they always schedule the Titans and Texans horribly every year, and they did it again this year. And now the Colts games are so close together. It's funny though. I just wanted to mention that.
No, absolutely. It's fascinating. And so week 14, you welcome in your division rival, the Jacksonville Jaguars, to town. Win or lose with the Jags' first encounter of the season?
It's going to be a big win, I think. We've contained Trevor Lawrence last year. I went to the game. We're at home against the Jaguars last year, and he just had no hope against our defense. And unless like Christian Kirk can pop off and become like a top 5 receiver in the NFL this year, I don't think the Jags are going to be looking too good. Something drastic is going to have to happen for the Jaguars to become good with Trevor Lawrence. I think he still has the upside, obviously, but right now against the Titans, it's going to be a dub for us.
Okay. And again, I don't want to turn this into just trashing of the Jags, but R3, R2, anything to add to that?
No, I think it's going to be pretty ugly.
It should be a whitewash.
Okay, fair enough. And so, another win there, going up to 8-5 on the year. And then we head to Los Angeles, to the beautiful SoFi Stadium, to not take on the Rams, but to take on their crosstown rival, the Los Angeles Chargers. R2, win or lose?
The Chargers are going to be one of those teams that's going to be another one of those top tier teams that are going to be really close to, at least if not competing for the Lombardi, very, very close to. I think this is a loss. They got 2 top tier wide receivers in Mike Williams and Keenan Allen. Eckler's a threat. I think Eckler's a top 5 running back in this league. I think the Chargers are one of those talented teams in the NFL. I think this is a loss.
Okay. And I will give a couple shout outs in the chat. I see Grandizer and SM agree you're beating the Jags. And then SM thinks you're going to beat the Chargers here. And then Grandizer's saying the home team gets the nod, but possible AFC playoff game. Ooh. But anything to add on this Chargers game?
No, but to the point of the possible playoff game, I think that if it is in a playoff game, I would 100% rather it be really anywhere other than LA, because I feel like if you could play it, I think if you get the Chargers at home, especially in January, definitely late January here, it's going to be freezing, which doesn't work great for the whole Chargers, which is a lot of passing. So I feel like we could have the upper hand in January, but not in LA.
Okay, cool. R1 or R3 at all?
Yeah, I think the Chargers are the Super Bowl contending team, so it's going to be a really tough game to win. But again, if we want to win, we just got to score early and control the game with Derrick Henry.
And we got to control their offense too. I think stopping the offense, stopping the run, and containing Herbert is going to be key. If we can do that, I think we have a chance. But in this case, I think we're going to lose.
Okay, fair enough. So I have you at 8-6 now, and then heading into Week 16. Are you going to sweep the Texans? You're facing them at home. I believe we're at R3 now.
Oh yeah, we're going to sweep the Texans. This should be an easy win. Yeah, especially at home. I fully expect a win going into this game.
Again, I don't want to turn this into a trashing of the Texans. R1 or R2, any quick thoughts in regards? Any hope that Davis Mills could maybe develop and possibly have an upset win here?
I don't think this year, but I think the Texans still have a great opportunity. I love Mechie. I think Mechie, the wide receiver from Alabama they drafted, and if they can potentially just not completely blow this season, they've got Bryce Young. Like, they can draft a really good quarterback. Next year is going to be a really good for the quarterback class, and I think drafting Bryce Young, in my opinion, Bryce Young is going to be the better than CJ Stroud, but I think that if you can pair him up with Mechie, I think that's going to be a great duo. But looking on to this season, I don't think the Texans have what it takes, but that's just me.
Now, but this could be a very good way to get that one of those top cold picks to get that new quarterback you want.
Sure, yeah. I will point out Grandizer are saying, bring out the brooms. It's a sweep of the Texans. But SM is predicting an upset of the Texans there. And so Corey's predicting a win. Willie, I'm not exactly sure what you mean by FOT, but Willie, always good to see you. So you are at 9-6 on your prediction here. And then week 17, Thursday Night Football, another short week. You are welcoming in the Dallas Cowboys to town. Final home game of the year for the Texans in the season. Win or lose versus the Cowboys. R3.
So the Cowboys, I think they're a good team, certainly with Dak, and Zeke and all their weapons. But I think the Titans can come up to the challenge here and win this game, actually. Again, I think the formula is really simple, especially late in the year, in December or January, whenever this game is. But just get Derrick Henry the ball, get him 200 yards, and really that's just, it's that easy. You just got to give him the ball, let him run free. And I've said that over and over again today, but if we can do that, we should be able to win this game.
Okay. R1 or R2?
Nah, that sounds good to me.
I agree.
Okay, fair enough. So that puts you at 10 wins on the year. You're 10-6, and then so with a record like that, I have no doubt the Titans will be probably competing for their division with the Colts, maybe, or perhaps they're in that wild card race. But it comes down to this week. You're going to Florida, to Jacksonville, to take on the Jags. Win or lose to close out the year. R1.
It is going to be a win, I think. Shouldn't be too hard, but as the Colts, as we saw what happened to the Colts last year, they're on the verge of making the playoffs with a win. If they lost, they would miss the playoffs. They ended up losing. So it's going to be a win, but I think it's going to be a close game because Jaguars don't want us to they don't want us to win. They don't want us to make it the playoffs, but I think we can edge out the win.
Okay. R2.
Yeah, I agree with that.
Yep. R3.
Yeah, I think the Jaguars should be a fairly easy game.
Okay. Well, I do see SM saying the Titans are going to sweep the Jags. Grandizer is predicting an L, saying Jags revenge game. They're going to bring it. and it's going to be an interesting, interesting. Those pesky Jags, right? They go from looking like the worst team in the league to beating Buffalo last year in a close game, and then beating the Colts, in the final week of the season. So always interesting with teams like that. That's why we love football, though. But so I have here your prediction is 12-5 for the Titans this year. I see Grandizer's predicting a 10-6-1 record because he always loves to predict a tie in there. But as I look at your schedule, I do think a lot of your statement games, you do have a couple early, that Bills game, that Raiders game, the Colts, both matchups with them early. And then obviously I feel like that the real tipping point of your season will be from week 8 to week 12, where you face week 9 to week 12, where you face the Chiefs, the Broncos, the Packers, and the Bengals 4 weeks in a row. Coming out of that, we'll kind of gauge what the likelihood of the Titans making the playoffs will be.
Yeah, I think getting out of that with a couple of wins should get us right in the playoff race as it gets interesting.
Yeah, for sure.
For sure.
Yeah, I think we should be able to get in the playoffs hopefully this year. Obviously, there's some concerns with the Ryan Tannehill thing. He kind of dropped off in the playoffs, especially last year. But hopefully, if we just continue to give Derrick Henry the ball, eventually he'll win us a lot of games.
Fair enough. SM is saying 12-5, 11-6 sounds about right for the Titans, and I would agree with that. But thank you so much, guys. For coming on this stream, and please stick around. We'll chat just a little bit afterwards. And everyone who's watching, thanks for tuning in on this lunch break episode of MOOF. Stay tuned for the next episode. It hasn't been scheduled yet. We're still working with our next guest. But this has been a great series so far. We're excited to see where it goes. And please subscribe to the Sports Star. They have great content, not just about the Titans, but about sports in general. They have some stuff coming up with the World Cup, and you can subscribe to their channel. The link is in the description below. And I've seen Grandizer posting it in the chat as well. But thank you so much, guys, for coming on.
Thank you so much for having us.
Thanks for having us on. Yeah.
It's always a pleasure being
This has
on
been
this.
great. Yeah, thank you so much.
Awesome. Stick around. We'll chat just a little bit afterwards. And we will say goodbye for now and see you in the next video. Thanks so much for watching. And as always, have a fantastic day.